So let's talk a little bit about our card for Bad Blood. This is, of course, hosted by Jade, Bianca, and Naomi. So whatever that means, we look forward to. We have first for the SmackDown Women's Championship, Nia versus Bayley. Do you see a title change or cash in or any special occurrence taking place?
I don't. I think that Nia retains. I think we probably get another tease of a cash in at some point. But anything can happen. But that's my gut feeling.
I would say so too. I think it's too early for a cash in. I just don't think the feud is nearly hot enough for like they haven't played around with the teasing enough, nor have they told a deep enough story for us to get that moment just yet. So I don't predict it. I think I hope that these two have a good match, but I think Nia retains and we just kind of maintain the status quo. Then we have Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship with Dominik and Mysterio suspended above the cage. Conventional wisdom would suggest that Dom would be throwing something out of out of the cage to help Liv Morgan win, but of course that could backfire on them. Who do you think leaves this match as champion?
Oh, I think Liv retains. I mean, like you just said, the trope of the poor person in the shark cage having some foreign object that they can throw down will probably occur, whether it's brass knuckles or whatever, or there may be various things. I do wonder in pro wrestling logic why the person who's suspended from the ring is not patted down before they're hoisted up. But anyway, I will expect that to happen. But again, like you said, why it could backfire as well. But I don't see a title change here. I don't think it's like you just said about the previous match. I don't think there's been enough to set it up.
I think like if there's a culminating point for this feud, it might be for something they might be saving for a bigger show, like a Survivor Series, perhaps.
Yeah.
I say this because there's nobody else for either of them to feud with beyond each other, right? Like there's nobody in the division that is hot enough for a title program just yet. So meanwhile, there's a lot of life left, I would say, between these two. They are getting some of the biggest reactions of the entire show in the entire company, with the addition, of course, of Dominik Mysterio. So I think to keep the storyline going, I also agree. I think Liv Morgan retains. Let's go up next to Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. No championship here, but it is a tale of two former brothers who Damian is no longer his keeper because he's no longer his brother.
Better friend, better whatever. Turns better enemies, best friends,
whatever.
Yeah. That I'm looking forward to a good wrestling match with these two. I think Finn can bring it. Damian's got better and better. It's kind of low stakes, and I feel that they'll want to go out and impress these two guys. So I'm kind of looking forward to this, just as a straight up wrestling match. I think it'll be good.
Agreed. I think in terms of like heat, that like there's not nearly as much for this one as the women have. But in ring, I think this could turn out really well. I think of the Terror Twins, I see Damian Priest being the one to beat Finn Balor. He's somebody who is relatively well protected, and I would argue that Balor kind of needs that protection just as much as he's somebody who I think with this match they've been really trying to like prop him up to make him feel like not just another sidekick in the Judgment Day. However, I do see Priest winning, just to give us at least a babyface win, and also I guess making Priest feel a bit stronger. But I can also see this feud continuing as well.
Yeah, agreed.
And then we've got Hell in a Cell. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Who wins this feud?
If this is the blow-off, I think Punk wins this feud because, generally speaking, the logic is go with the babyface in the end. I wouldn't rule out some way of this continuing because we are getting into almost what I consider the off-season for wrestling, before... in WWE terms, at least, before we hit January and the Rumble and the road to WrestleMania. what else is on the table for these two at that point in the year? I don't know. I mean, I feel that there's legs still, but in this, I might be alone in thinking that. But anyway, if it is to be the blow off, and I think most people think it is, I see a Punk victory.
I see a Punk victory as well. Like, just given his aspirations to go for the championship, you know, that Drew has kind of derailed with this particular match. So I think Punk's next chapter would be going up against Gunther.
Seth. Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah. It wouldn't be Zayn. Like, it could be. I guess it could be Seth. You know, that's an unanswered thing. Like, all we know is Punk wants to go for the championship. There could be other obstacles in his way, and Seth Rollins could be one of those obstacles. So yeah, it's still very much in play. But I think this feud ends, you know, with this, especially since they made such an effort in trying to sell the Hell in a Cell as this sort of definitive, like, close, you know.
Yeah, that's it. That is true, and it's in favor of what you're saying. And I saw a clip, at least, of an interview with Punk this week, who was very keen on trying to rehabilitate Hell in a Cell into this kind of, you know, brutality.
Yeah.
You know, it ends here.
This one promises blood in the match, and you know, it's not just for the namesake of the pay-per-view, but like I guess for the sake of this match type, you know, that I think over the years has kind of, you know, been for lack of a better word, like sort of neutered, you know, as this just like thing that happens to happen once a year without much like storyline reason, and the matches that take place are like typically good, but like not necessarily the type of like violent finality that maybe the first Hell in a Cell was, or the second Hell in a Cell were. Listen, they can talk about like making each other bleed and like how, like, you know, I'm going to send you to hell like all they want. It's the match that has to deliver that sort of significance that will ultimately determine whether or not the stipulation is rehabbed. So
I agree. It's a fairly high bar, especially since my sense of the Four Corners match was not great, partly because the stipulation was a bit wonky, and also I feel that Punk is being a little safe with him. I feel like he's a very key player. He's a very key merchandise shifter. I got the sense in that match that they were minimizing risk. I don't know how much you can do that and also deliver a really compelling Hell in a Cell match. So it'll be interesting. I think they've got a bar to clear tomorrow, and it's the one I'm certainly got the most interest in.
That's a very good point about maybe like, you know, how active Punk will be, how much risk will we see from Punk. But I'm also confident that like these two can deliver like a very sort of you know, worthwhile and even violent Hell in a Cell without like delivering too much risk. Maybe just sort of the perception of risk, and more so the blood and the violence. I'm curious how the blood will be delivered. Like, will it be fake? Will it be real blood? Which I think would be very notable, you know, for it to happen in the WWE.
I agree with you. I think the visual can be everything in these matters, particularly in WWE, because we see blood a lot in AEW, but not so much in WWE. I'm sticking to my little theory that that all the blood we've seen in the past few months may not all have been accidental. I just don't know. We've seen quite a bit, and I'm just so used to the no color stipulation where we really didn't, and if we did, it was cut away from. So I don't know. I absolutely wouldn't rule out a wee bit of little bit of a blade job tomorrow. You know.
We'll see. And then, of course, what might be the main event, might not be. We'll find out tomorrow. Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, the new Mega Powers, teaming up for the first time, taking on the Bloodlines, Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. I believe Cody has hinted at one of these marching bands that made a viral clip playing his theme song, playing him out possibly. So expect like a lot of fanfare for some of these entrances, especially Cody's in Atlanta. Maybe Roman gets some sort of like, I don't know, special football team homecoming as well. And then, of course, the Bloodline. What do you expect from this match? And what do you expect the outcome to be in this match? I
mean, again, I think convention would lead you to think like this is a victory for Cody and Roman, with a bit of can they coexist. I think they'll probably be at each other at some point during the match. But we're also used to seeing shenanigans with the bloodline, and it won't be just these two members of it. I wouldn't rule out, if it's the last match on the card, there being some sort of angle or surprise, and perhaps not Rock level, but something.
Metro
what that is,
Boomin
Metro Boomin
gets involved.
Whoa.
And it becomes the first participant to join War Games.
Could be.
And then Drake joins the other side. Drake joins the bloodline.
Yeah, and Hardy comes out to even the score.
John Clanchester, our SmackDown reviewer, is saying, I believe Cole said tonight this was the main event tomorrow. I'm sorry if I missed that. I guess that would be confirmation if what John says is true, which I do believe.
That has been out there a bit. I didn't hear Michael Cole say it either, but it doesn't surprise me, and it does make me think we get something more than just, a clean victory at the end of it. Who knows?
You're right. I do think this one's a bit harder to predict. I mean, Roman Reigns coming back for his first match, you would think, and it's the WWE champion Cody Rhodes, you would think a bit of a slam dunk, for booking. But knowing that they have War Games coming up, I feel like you got to make the bloodline look strong. And I think Cody and Roman, being the first time that they're teaming up together, not being on the same page is a reasonable excuse to cost them this match. So who takes the pin? I mean, you can argue these two are like the most protected guys, in all of the company, but I don't think it's the worst idea for Jacob Fatu to pin Cody Rhodes. So you can set up that title match, maybe even for a crown jewel, and then come back with the War Games. I mean, I see almost more value in having the bloodline look strong coming out of this, rather than just like them losing and then where do you go from there? Of course, there are a lot of ways you could protect them even in the loss, but just thinking on the surface, I wouldn't be totally shutting down a bloodline win here.
No, and I suppose where we're headed with all of this, with War Games, there's also the opportunity for the use. I mean, Jay's in his own little bubble at the moment as champ, but perhaps Jimmy. I think Dwayne is a big ask for this pay-per-view. I can't see it, but they need to kind of beef up the other team at some point. If it's really going to be new bloodline versus for OG bloodline. I don't know, Sammy. I'm really not sure, but.
Yeah, they haven't really ramped up like that sort of storytelling as much as I think, to the point where like I'm almost wondering if like they're actually going to bring the OG bloodline back, or if they're going to team Cody with Roman and like just a bunch of SmackDown baby faces on that side. So we'll see, especially after Bad Blood, as we head towards both Crown Jewel and also Survivor Series. And John Clanchester confirmed that Cole did in fact call the tag match the main event tomorrow. So thank you very much, John. Our SmackDown reviewer, go and read his thoughts over at postwrestling.com. If you like this video, consider joining our Patreon, the Post Wrestling Cafe. Multiple bonus podcasts every week, ad-free shows, and access to our full archive. Otherwise, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Thank you for watching.